Hey guys, welcome to another one of our reviews. I'm the Worm, this is the Proton. Today we're going to be reviewing a dripper slash tank rebuildable slash
dingle
large slash medium mode slash dripper sort of thing. It's an RBA basically. Indeed. Yeah.
What we're doing today, guys, is the SvoeMesto Kayfun 2.1 ES. You can get this Cloud9 vaping, guys, if that's what you wanted to do. I picked this up in a second-hand auction, actually. It's where I got this. So yeah, that's what we're doing today, guys. 2.1 ES. Lovely stuff, as Worms pointed out at the beginning.
Loads of things.
Configurations coming out your ear holes. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go straight into it now, straight down up close, quickly show you over the device, show you the configurations, in what way they're going to go together and how it's going to look, and then all of them, and then we're going to come back up to us, and then we're going to have a little flappery-do in the way that we do. Alright guys, quick-ish close-up of the 2.1 ES. So first things first, spares. In there you're going to find a few O-rings and then a couple of M1.6 machine screws which are for your deck. So yeah, spares included, coming from Cloud9. You get your little mod Atty pouch dingle dangle as well. Get those out of the way. That's fairly simple stuff. Right, where to start? Let's start here. So this is your deck base, whatever it is you want to do. 14mm across, guys. Let me just get a little screwdriver, and then you've got your 3 holes here. This is your valve for filling. Okay, you get the bottle with it. I don't have that bottle with me, but you do get a bottle with it. Air hole, and you've got adjustment for your air hole. Okay, just there. Very simple stuff. In and out, works really well, like it does on 3.1 and so on and so forth. So that's your base, 510 fitted, not adjustable, but it does stick out a fair amount, so you can see you're not going to have any problems with connection. I've stuck a coil in that. I wasn't going to do it on camera, but that's a little micro coil in there, 0.27 wire, just to make this process a little bit quicker. Some of the less important bits, I suppose, I can get out of the way straight away. This is an ego cone you get if you're going to run this on a twist or something like that. Obviously being 14mm, that's what she's designed to do, so we can get that out of the way as well. I suppose we'll start in the longest mode and work our way back. So longest mode would be, hello, everything starts rolling over because it's round. This is your little chamber section. Okay, SvoeMesto on there printed, lovely little logo, and then down onto that. So chamber section on. Then we want go gadget tip or Tin Man's hat. It's ridiculously long. This has to go on first, guys, if you're going to be using this tank section. Then we're going to go on with a clear tank section, polycarbonate, guys. No O-ring at the bottom because it's part of the deck, but one at the top as well. Then we're going to go with your longer of the two metal tank sections. As you can see, one's got the additional threading on, it's quite a bit longer, so that would then sit in here. Oh, hello. Screw on top of the polycarbonate, again O-ring to meet to fit it off, and then your top metal section which goes there, which will come into play again in a minute. Then you have your top cap like so, and then drip tip. Okay, so that's it in its go gadget mode. Put that into scale. Have you got an 18650 battery anywhere? We have a monkey on its way. That's it compared to an 18650 battery with thread. So as you can see, it's pretty damn big. Right, what we'll do is we'll get rid of the drip tip to start with. Kayfun drip tip, same as the light, guys. Okay, so there you go. Get rid of that. We'll take her back apart again. Obviously with this bottom section, be careful of your threads on your bottom of your tank just because it is polycarbonate. Right, we can now get rid of the long Tin Man's hat, on with short Tin Man's hat. So same thing again, tank section on. We won't be using this bit here, we'll be using the smaller of the two. Onto there, top cap on, and drip tip in. That's it in 3mm mode. Sorry, the longest mode is 5mm approximately. Juice capacity, that's now 3 millilitres juice capacity. Alternatively though, what you can do is undo her, because basically, as you can see, guys, that tank is slightly wider than the deck here. This is actually 15mm, whereas that's 14mm. If you wanted the all metal or you wanted the all flush or any of that kind of hoo-ha, you can chuck that one on there and then chuck that one on there, and then put your top on if you want it to be sort of a uniform diameter all the way up, and you can have it that way. That is still 3mm, so that's an option for you if you wanted to do that. Then we're getting there, guys. If you undo that, undo so and so and so and so and so and forth, and then you can undo the smaller of the 2 Tin Man's hats, take away your chamber, and then we can lose the little tank section, and we can lose this tank section. Then if we just have the smallest tank section, you can then directly screw that small tank section onto the deck like so, and then screw on your top cap, and then you've got a nice little wee dripper. So loads and loads of options, guys. But what we're going to do today, I don't know how I want to run it. I think we'll run it as a dripper, just because I think we're going to stick it on the little barbed wire. Let's have a look. Yeah, we'll stick it on a little barbed wire clone. So we'll run it as a dripper just because we can. Why not? We've used this in each and every configuration thinkable. I've had this for about 2 months now, so it's been well and truly used and abused. But for now, we'll stick it in dripper. Little coil in there, giving us the goodness. Let's lock that off and stick a bit of cotton through it. Always make sure you call cool guide before you stick your cotton through, because you'll just burn it straight away. Mine still isn't quite cool enough yet. So cotton in, give it a little pull. We're about right there. I mean, the advantage with using this as it is, sorry, if you stick a cord like this in it, which is a micro virgin or nano, you can have it as a tank, then have it as a dripper and whatever else. I mean, the first core I stuck in as a dripper was a bit too big, so putting that chamber back on the outside wasn't really ideal, so I had to recoil it for that. But if you stick sort of a semi-sensible size coil in it, you can go from 5mm capacity all the way down to dripper whenever you fancy it, with only changing the cotton if you wanted to. So that's obviously a good stuff. And then what I'm going to do is grab my snips and just quickly take off some of this cotton like so. And then we're just going to literally tuck it down the sides like you would if you were re-wicking a standard Kayfun. I mean, this to me, as it is now, although it's slightly bigger, it's not by miles. It seems more like an actual Kayfun light sort of chamber than with that little, with this little sort of chamber outer on. It's just very tiny. I mean, that's how much you have to deal with. It's very, very small, so you're not going to get loads of cotton in, so you're never going to get a stupidly low resistance coil in this, purely because one, the screws aren't really big enough to trap it under, and two, you haven't got the room. So we're running it in dripper. What juice can go? Have you got any juice you want to particularly stick in, anything?
No, not really.
No? Let's have a look. So what we've got here. Where's that menthol? You got that menthol? Let's chuck some menthol in it, just purely because.
Is that, check it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Iced mint is what we're going to stick in. So it's just a simple case, guys, of giving it a prime. I mean, being a dripper, you can just drip away. What I would tend to do is, because you've got quite a bit of space down there, I do tend to recently grab a bit of extra cotton, mainly in drippers this is, guys, and not really in anything else. But I'll grab a bit of extra cotton, stick that on. One, because it helps reduce the chamber, not by a lot, but it does. And two, you're going to get a bit more juice retention. And with something so tiny, I like to get as much juice in there as possible. So grab a little bit of extra cotton in there and just give it a good old squeeze. So we'll give that a second to absorb. Might have got a bit happy with that juice then, but hey ho. And then obviously away you go, and then you can grab your sort of top cap if you like. I'm going to remove that drip tip because I like to run this little tiny one. And that's it, set up as a dripper, which is always good. So you'll come back up to us now, guys, and have a nice little vape.
Hi guys, that was the up close of the Kayfun 2.1 ES from wherever you got it from, but it's from Cloud9.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go, guys. Cloud9. A couple of things forgot in the close up. One was in the spares, there's a couple of them missing. One of them's a drip tip O-ring, which I lost, and the other one is a small O-ring for the top cap where it makes contact with the Tin Man's hat. That is actually in it now because the one I had did a kamikaze down the kitchen sink and was never to be seen again. I won't go down the U-bend for an O-ring. So yeah, so you do get a couple more. You do get a couple more spares than what's in the bag that I just showed you. Just be aware that that is the case. Polycarbonate tank section, guys, so certain juices, your fluids and a few others will crack it eventually, possibly, potentially, maybe. But they are available.
One of the above.
One of the above. They are available on Cloud9 to repurchase. Cloud9 have also got a little list of some juices that are known to crack it, so check that out. If one of them's your regulars, then use it in full stainless mode, just because, why not, basically, why would you want to risk cracking it if you can help it?
Obviously, guys, as well as people that are new to the Kayfun out there that haven't watched many videos, there is also a downloadable, usable manual if you learn better from reading rather than seeing. So it's there if you want it.
There you go, which is the same with all SvoeMesto products. So yeah, just it's there if you want it. Right, price, guys, $88.95 for this little bad boy, which is about 20 quid more than the light, but they serve a different purpose, to be honest with you. I mean, this for me personally, I think is more designed for the Ego style batteries and your twists and that kind of thing. For those of you who just can't suffer Clearo vape or whatever vape, a standard dripping 80 for example, and really need to have that Kayfun in your life, then this is made for them people. But I mean, we're using it on a little 14500 mod, and it works spectacularly well on it, like a Kayfun should. So that's what that is. 3mm, 5mm, and dripper mode. Want to be aware of the metal needles that are going into that valve, guys. Use only the proper bottles for it. They're available from Cloud9 for a quid or two. So yeah, just don't be tight, buy the proper bottles. What's the point of spending 90 quid on that and then ruin it with a syringe? They're not made for it, guys. Alright, you'll break that valve potentially, and it's not something you want to have to fix. Equal tiny valve, that is. So yeah, that is what it is. Just have a look over the site, make sure we've it says multiple configurations. Well, that's damn for sure. We've kind of shown you what they are. I mean, you can mix it up. I mean, when in the longest mode, I've run it with the clear tank in the middle, just because I wanted to see when the juice was starting to get low. That's one thing I have noticed with this tank in particular, is when you've got it in the tank set up, whether it's 3 or 5mm, if you start to see juice just below that clear tank, you have got 2 minutes before that tank is basically empty. It's not like the light where it goes below the window, and then you've got a little vape before it goes on. Literally
normally about half hour-ish, isn't it?
The bottom section of that tank is so small. It's all of the juice is up the top. It's all of it. That's why you can extend the capacity by so much by in that little tube, just because that's what all of your juice capacity is. Very, very narrowed down now. Yeah, it's only the actual chimney of the airflow that is actually taken away from the volume of space you've got in there. So indeed. I mean, we're using it in dripper now, and I've used it in dripper a lot. I've used it in tank a lot. The least used mode I've used it in is the 5mm full top whack Harry Potter wand mode, purely because I mean it's long. I mean, I like running it on this 4500, and with the 2 tank setup, you can get away with that no problem. When you've got them 3 tanks, it's like your mod's this big and then your Atti's this big, and it's just it's a bit over the top. Especially if you're using the drip tip that comes with it as well, because that's gargantuan in comparison to this little one, which makes it even longer still. But the options there, and that's what's important.
Plus with your extra long drip tip as well.
Coco gadget tip, yeah, it can be massive.
You've got a walking stick. We're going to go into our 5-point hit list, and then we'll carry on with our flappery Dugan on the other side. But our first one, as always, is looks. Obviously on this one you've got 4 different setups really that you're going to use all the time for looks. So I mean, in dripper mode, personally for me, I think it's the best looking mode for this device. I think it's a 10 in dripper mode. I think it's easy to set up, easy to re-wick. It's just a delight to use as a dripper. I wish more drippers were like that, to be honest. So yeah, 10 for that. In 3mm mode, you've got the full stainless and clear tank and stainless going on. Full stainless, again, I think it looks really good for what it is, especially on like an Ego battery. I think it'd be a 10. With the clear tank, I don't like how it bulges out, and I would probably not go to that sort of size and ever use that tank, because it would just be my preference. I just think the way it just bulges out too much is wrong. So yeah, when it's got that clear tank section on, whether it's in the 3 or 5mm mode, I think it just looks stupid, and I think it looks like a 2, to be honest. I just don't like it with the clear tank section on.
I think one's a racist. Right, on looks, firstly, I mean, looking at pictures of the slatings that are up here, top and bottom, that is instantly what drew my eye to them. To this, when you see it in the pics, I thought that looked horrible in the pics. you have got to bear in mind you're looking at things in scrutinous detail when you're looking at something that's this big and on your screen it's this big. Okay, so you are looking at scrutinous detail in person. They are much nicer and easier to deal with and better looking than it would appear on screen. I think it looks quite horrible on screen. So if you're one of them people, it's not as bad when it's in front of you. For one, in the various configurations, dripper, I think it looks pretty nice. I mean, that on a little Ego, you'd get away with that quite happily, no problem whatsoever, and you'd be having a really good vape, because that'll only be pushing what this battery is, and it does really well. I haven't actually got my Ego here, I'll put it on it just for shits and giggles. In the bigger modes, I'm not a big fan of how the tank does swell out, but I am a big fan of being able to see the juice when it hits that bottom tank, because like I say, when it hits that bottom tank, it's like gone. So it's nice to know when you're starting to get there. I think it still looks good though, to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of the stock drip tip with this. I think it looks much better in the light than it does on this. It's just a bit too, the whole thing's a bit too long. They've kind of in and then up, as opposed to it being sort of wide, it's now tall. But I think the standard drip is a little bit too long in all configurations, just for my looks preference. But in overall, I'm going to give this thing a 9 for looks. I think it looks pretty damn good on a lot of things, and I think if you had a little Ego or a twist or whatever it is you're using with the cone, both metal tanks on in 3mm mode with this small drip tip, I think it would look pretty cool. I mean, if it was twisted, it'd still be bloody big, but it'd look pretty cool. And not just that, but it wouldn't look any different to a C4 or whatever. I think it looks slightly better, but the vape experience you'd be getting would be a lot better for the look that you've got. So I'm going to give it a 9. I think it's quite nice.
Usability. Yes, there is a lot of bits to this, but the usability of this is no harder than any other Kayfun. Put all the right pieces on at the right time. The lubricant is simple. Cleaning it is literally rinsing on a tap. Obviously, the small O-rings in the top of the actual top cap itself, where you put your drip tip into. Obviously, the O-ring does like to pop out like it does on the light, like it does on the 3.1. It does pop out. It's not fitted in there overly too much, because obviously it's got to fit the top cap funnel in there quite easily, in and out sort of thing, when you're putting it together and taking it apart. So the usability of this is just no harder than any other Kayfun, and I think it's a 10.
There you go. Usability, it depends on your skill set and whatever else as well. So if you're used to a Kayfun, you know this already, you know the Kayfun. The only thing with this is you've got to wrap a slightly smaller core. You can't get away with as bigger cores because you've got less space to work in. But it's not massively less, it's just less. But no, I mean, the screw trap's really easily, it's always very forgiving, I find, with Kayfuns anyway. All you've got to do is what you see us do in the video, whether you're using silica, eco or cotton. It's all the same stuff, just pull it up, slide the tank over and chop it to the top of the tank and poke them down. I like to add a bit more cotton. I wouldn't do that with silica or eco wool, but I like to add a bit more cotton just because I find it holds the juice in there a bit better, and it reduces our chamber size very fractionally. It's not really a main reason for doing it though, it's all about juice retention. So yeah, usability, I think it's slightly harder to use in the light just because of size, but other than that, no, it's exactly the same as a Kayfun. So I'm giving it a 10 for me, and for most of you guys out there. Even if you're fairly new to the recording side of things, you're going to find it one of the easier ones to work with, especially in dripper. So yeah, 10.
Maintenance, like we said, the re-rigging is just the same as any other Kayfun, especially if you're doing cotton setup like us. It's literally wrap your coil, stick it in there, screw it down, you put your cotton through and you're ready to go pretty much. Rebuild, put the tank section back together. But in terms of cleaning it, you just got to watch out for that O-ring popping out the top. That's pretty much the only one. I mean, other than that, make sure your screws are tightened down when you're washing it and you'll be fine and dandy. So yeah, maybe the only other thing is the valve you've got to watch out for, but like we said, use the correct tool, you won't have a problem. If you use the wrong tool or start jabbing at it, that's when you're going to have issues, because it's a very delicate process, that valve. So treat it with respect and a little bit of delicacy and you'll be fine. So other than that, 10.
There you go. Maintenance, there are a lot of parts here. There are a lot of parts, even more so than the standard Kayfun, and they have quite a few parts. So maintenance, when you're washing this out, guys, just be careful, because it colander or plug in the sink, because you will lose O-rings and you could lose something else that's a bit more valuable or be harder to get than an O-ring. Can't think of what off the top of my head, but it's possible, so that's the point. There are a lot of parts. I mean, also, I mean, if you wanted to, if you were out and about, for example, I mean, it's something that most wouldn't do, but I am one of these people, and you want to switch between tank mode, high, low, or whatever, you've got to carry them extra bits with you. And similar thing to swapping the polycarbonate tanks and that kind of stuff. It's just, with a Kayfun you chuck it like a light or a 3.1, you chuck it all together and it's there. That is what it is really. So many configurations you have got to carry extra bits, but that's what you get if you want extra configurations, I suppose. Maintenance for me, I think as long as you can keep hold of the bits, it's a rinse out. With this kind of build, it's a dry burn and re-cotton, or if you're using silica, it's a quick re-wick. I'm going to give it a 10 for maintenance. I don't think it's particularly difficult to maintain, and I think it's very forgiving in the maintenance aspect of thing as well, because you've got the options of them coils there, same as you have with any Kayfun. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 10 for maintenance. I don't think it's too difficult, it's just a pain in the arse with the small parts.
Flavour and vapour. To be honest, it's going to depend on whether you're wrapping low ohm, high ohm coils, to what side of voltage you're putting through it, and what juice you're using. But with the setup we got at the moment, the vapour is a 10, and the flavour of it is the same as the Kayfun. It's a 10. They are both outstanding devices, and they just work. There's not very much that can go wrong with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the first time you use one of these, first 1 or 2 calls maybe not perfect, but it's still more than usable. So it's one of those very forgiving devices, and just I think the adjustable airflow on this is definitely better than ones we've previously tried on other devices. But yeah, it's depending on whether you've got the airflow, it's going to be depending on whether you get more vapour or flavour. So, but overall, how we use it all the time compared to our other devices, which is the same, because that's the kind of vapour we go for, they're 10s.
There you go, flavour and vapour for me. I mean, things are going to be playing a part here, whether you're in dripper, whether you're in tank size, the amount you've got the air hole reduced, your build, your juice, every. Vapour I think is definitely a 10, because you can have it wide open, and it's about 1.7-ish draw when it's wide open, and you get plenty of vapour. I mean, even on this 4500 mods I'm blowing more than enough. Flavour I slightly disagree with worm fractionally, purely because I think that I've had this with builds in it that beat the light, not by a lot, but they, on a good day, this will outperform the light, purely because you've got less room in the chamber. It's got a reduced chamber, and I find the flavour can be slightly more intensified. I mean, I had this on this setup, in fact, 4500 with the dripper, with a really nice juice, and I didn't change anything for a week. Like the coil was the same, cotton was changed once, and it was just probably one of the best vaping experiences I've had, in terms of pure flavour alone. In terms of vapour, no. If you're blowing clouds though, you're not using Kayfuns. It's as simple as that. But I think the flavour has the potential to slightly outperform the light. You have got to work a little bit more for it though, and it's not like in a light where you go bang, 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 and that's that. The coil I was using at that particular moment of time was similar to what I'm using now, which is not a 2mm drill bit, it's a sort of 1.5, 1.5mm actual screwdriver bit, and it was a couple more wraps of a lower gauge wire as opposed to a higher gauge. So yeah, play around with builds, but when I had this with Jester's juice in, yeah, probably sort of top 3 vapes that I've had so far. So yeah, really, really nice. 10 for flavour, definitely 10 for vapour. What more can you say? Awesome sauce.
Overall, it's a Kayfun. It's built really well. You do have to watch the threadings a little bit on the polycarbonate tank, but you have to do that on all Kayfuns. Just make sure you get the threadings right before you start going at it, sort of thing. Other than that, I don't think there's anything really you've got to watch out for on this thing, except for when you're cleaning it, like we said. But when you're cleaning stuff, you should always make sure you've either got the plug-in colander, or you know it's not, or the device you're washing out isn't small enough to fall down the actual hole. So just be aware of that. But other than that, this is it's an all-round outstanding device. If you can get hold of one of these and you like the actual slimmer for your maybe your ego battery or for out and about on that, it's definitely one for you, and I definitely recommend it. We love our Kayfuns. Mr. Brown loves his 2.1. I think it's a really good device. Don't particularly want one myself. I want I want a different one, but it is what it is, sort of thing.
There you go. For me, overall, I mean, yeah, the configurations are definitely a big part of it. The fact that it can be used on any mod from Ego upwards without looking ridiculous, because you're never going to use a proper case like a light or a 3.1 on an Ego, are you? I think that's really cool. The fact you get everything included in it, beauty ring and the whole lot as well, it's shebang's ready to go. Price wise, you're talking sort of 20 quid more on the light. Do you want to pay it? It's up to you. The vape's outstanding. It's really nice to build. It's got the options. The only problem with it that I can find is it vapes like a Kayfun, slightly better at times. It just doesn't feel like a Kayfun to me. It doesn't. It hasn't. Sometimes in certain configurations, it doesn't feel like a 100 quid tank. Whereas I pick up the light and instantly I think, Kayfun. I don't instantly think Kayfun when I pick this up and play with it. I do once it's built and I have a vape on it, I think that's Kayfun all day long, but at certain times I just, doesn't quite feel like a Kayfun at times, and that's the only thing. And it's not like it doesn't vape like one or put together like one, it just doesn't feel like one to me all the time, which is probably to do with its size and the fact that the materials are thinner to make it lighter and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just wish it had a little bit more bulk to it. Like in terms of I wish it was sort of a 16mm or something like that, just so it had a little bit more thickness to them tanks and it felt a little bit more. But that being said, it's still a 10 out of 10. It's definitely, I would say it's worth the money. There's not many things in this kind of size that will give you anywhere close to this kind of vape. I mean, there's a few drippers, but even still I wouldn't say they're a Kayfun vape. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this, guys. I mean, you got the light. If you've got one of those already and you're after something smaller, then crack on. I could run this on a standard Ego battery, 650 mAh now, with the beauty ring, and it would perform exactly like it is now. And I have run it on an Ego battery, and it does perform very well, which is not something you typically say about an Ego battery. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Just don't expect a light, the weight of a light and the feel of a light necessarily, because it doesn't. I mean, even the internal chamber, the screw threads don't quite seem right to me. They don't seem as sort of nice as I wanted them to, and stuff like that. But if you've got one, let me know what you think of yours. It might just be me being a bit nitpicky. I do love the thing and I won't get rid of it, but yeah, it's up to you to make your choices, guys, isn't it? I think we're pretty much done. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I've been Mr. Proton. This has been The Worm. We'll see you soon.